Hi, I'm David Knight from Healthcraft. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to show you how to cook lamb a couple different ways. First, we're going to start off with a rack of lamb right here. This is from New Zealand. Most of the lamb comes from there, or Australia. I can get domestic lamb, comes from Colorado. But this is a rack of New Zealand lamb. What we're going to do is we're going to show you how to cook chops. It comes just like this. Basically what this is these are the rib bones here. This is the back straps. This would run along the back part of the lamb. As you can see here, each one of these little rib bones separates here with a piece of meat, some fat. What we're going to do is we're going to take a boning knife. We're going to cut off a couple of these chops. What you want to do is press down just like that. That would be a double chop. So we're just going to cut that into a single chop. Just like that. Now you may have a little bit of bone right there. Just kind of feel your way around it and then just cut through. And then what you want to end up with is something like this. Nice piece of fat on the back, meat here. Same thing with this, just like that. When you cut them, you want to cut them equally thick so they cook in the same amount of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to preheat our pan here. You want to do this over medium-high heat. Now, the nice thing about lamb is you can do this greaseless. I'm going to show you another recipe in a little bit where you use a little bit of olive oil, but greaseless way is very simple. Wash my hands off real quick, and I'll show you how to season this. Now, you don't have to really season it at all if you don't want to. Salt and pepper works great, so that's what we're going to use here. A little bit of kosher salt. You can use sea salt if you like, but that's the only two that I'd recommend. I'm going to use a little bit of raw sugar. It's going to give this nice sweetness to the lamb. Brings out like a kind of a unique flavor. A little bit of pepper. And just want to do the other side. And then when you're salting things like this, the higher that you raise, the more surface area that you can cover, so you don't have to sit there and go like that. A little bit of sugar. A couple turns of pepper. Ready to go. Now, before you cook the lamb, you want to bring it out of the refrigerator for about 35 to 40 minutes. You want to let it raise to a room temperature so you get a nice sear on the outside of the lamb. It'll give you a nice crust. See what happens if you just take it straight out of the refrigerator and throw it in the pan. You're not going to get a really nice sear because it's going to cool the pan down. So this is about right where we want it. Throw that in there. No oil. Like that. And we're going to let those cook. Under medium temperature. Alright. I'm going to move this over here to the other burner, and then while those are cooking, we're going to show you how to make the next dish. We're going to do glass bowl. Start off with 3 tablespoons of just regular Dijon mustard. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons of the country mustard. Stone ground mustard. It's not as fine. Basically, it's just the mustard seed, the vinegar, all mixed together. It's not pulverized like the Dijon mustard. So in here you've got the 2 kinds of mustard, and then to that we're going to need a couple cloves of garlic. Pour it up here. Remember the way you want to do your garlic. Just take the flat side of the knife, just give it a whack. The garlic on its side. Pull. That'll rip the skin right off. And then you want to chop the knot off at the end. Both of these. Tends to be bitter. When you're buying garlic too, you want to look for real firm heads of garlic. You don't want any green things coming out. It should be just nice, firm, totally white, just like that, kind of like a bone color. Should have a nice fragrance to it. You don't want the mushy green garlic with the little green stems coming out. That's not very good. We're just going to give this a quick rough chop. I'm going to slice this in a couple big pieces. We're going to go over it a couple more times. Now, if you want to pulverize your garlic, what you can do is you put a little kosher salt on it. That'll work as an abrasive. And it also will help the garlic not to stick to your knife by putting the kosher salt on it. So I'm just going to go through that a couple times just like that. You don't want too big of a chunk here. Kind of want like almost like a fine, not quite a mince, a little bit between a mince and a dice. Okay. that. Add right into our mustard. And the next thing that goes really well with lamb is rosemary. You want to clean these off before you use them. And basically what you do is just take the top of the rosemary sprig like that and just pull down. That's going to take all the leaves off. You're going to end up with a woodsy stem. You don't want to eat that. And then the top part is usually pretty tender. So just rip the rest of those leaves off. You want to use, for a whole rack, I'd use 2 large sprigs. Peel those off. Okay. Now I'm just going to run through these real quick. You don't have to chop these up if you don't want to. I like it because we're going to make a paste to put on the outside of the lamb. If you were just going to marinate the lamb, maybe like in garlic and olive oil, just take the leaves off the stem. You don't even have to really chop them up. Okay, we've got our chopped rosemary here. Add that. Okay. Get a nice mixture: rosemary, garlic, a little bit of 2 kinds of mustard, stone ground mustard, Dijon. We're going to add salt, and we're going to add some more sugar. You want to use about a teaspoon of sugar, about a tablespoon of salt, and then you get 6 or 8 grinds of pepper. Okay. That you need to grab a whisk. Okay. Now we're going to use extra virgin olive oil. You want to get a good kind of olive oil. You want to spend the extra money for olive oil because it really makes a difference in your dish. And if you buy the cheap olive oil, it really doesn't taste good. It has no flavor to it. So this, you use about 2 tablespoons of this. You don't really want to make. You want to make like a wet paste. You don't want it too loose, like salad dressing. So you just want to mix this up. All right. So you just kind of want to mix this up. Remember, make a paste. Because what you're going to ultimately do is just slather this onto the lamb. So you don't want it too loose. You want it to be able to stick to the lamb. Okay. That looks pretty good. I'm going to move this out of the way. Next thing I'm going to grab is a little bit of parchment paper. Before I do that, we want to put these chops over. If they're still stuck to the pan, if you're not ready to go over, that one is. You want to look at that nice golden brown color you get on those. That's due to proper cooking temperature. It's about medium-high heat. We're just going to let those go for about 4 or 5 minutes on the other side, and we'll take those out. Okay, let's go to the rack. We're going to take some parchment paper here. Slide this down on the board. And we're going to take our rack, just like that. Move this out of the way. Okay. So then, you want to take your mixture here. Just kind of slather this onto the lamb. Like that, equally. Make sure you get all sides. Now while we're doing this, we want to preheat the pan over medium. It's already going. Now if you don't like mustard, what you can do is you can marinate this in olive oil, garlic, salt, pepper, and rosemary. Marinate it for about 4 hours, at least. So this we're going to do. A quick trick with this. Flip this over. Okay. Get the underside. Basically what we're just doing is getting as much flavor into this meat as we can without having to marinate it. You're going to form a crust, and that crust is going to be the flavor. Okay. So we do. Flip this back over one more time. Just like that. Okay. Now normally you don't have to use any oil. Like we didn't use any oil with the chops we've got going on over here, but we want to form a crust, so we're going to use a little bit of cooking spray. Like that. Now you definitely want to have the pan hot enough. Just over medium heat for about 5 minutes. And just place that on just like that. And you want that to sear off. It's going to take you about 30 minutes to cook this. Maybe about 25 to 30 minutes you can to your desired doneness. So, but the most important thing is you want that crust to form. So you just want to leave it alone, don't touch it. We're just going to leave that uncovered. We're going to let that cook for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to it. Let's take a look at our chops. Our chops are perfectly golden brown. That's just what you want, like that. See? Now the way you check for doneness, just give them a little touch. That's about medium rare right there, so that's perfect. So we want to take those off the flame. Just set those here like that. Grab a plate. We'll serve those up. Just put them just like that. That. And then you have seared lamb chops. Takes you about 10 minutes. The waterless and greaseless way. Alright, we're going to let this cook off and we'll come back, flip it over. We'll show you how to do the other side in a couple minutes. We'll be right back. Let's go ahead and flip it over. That's what you want right there, is a nice crust. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to golden brown the other side. We're going to cover that. We're going to cook that for about 10 to 12 more minutes. We'll check it in 10 minutes to see how it's done, and then we'll come back and serve it. So just cover it, vent open, let it roast on top of the stove. Most important thing is keep the vent open. We'll come back and check it in 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look at the lamb. See, you got a nice crust there. What you want to do is just give it a little poke. That's about medium rare. We went through this on one of the segments before, but what you want to do, the way you tell if it's done properly, just want to hold up your hand, poke it like that, and that would be medium rare. Touch your thumb to your pointer finger, that would be medium. Close it like that, that'd be well, medium well, and then touch your nose, that's well done. So. Lamb, right here, what you want to do is you want to cook this medium rare to medium. I wouldn't suggest cooking it any longer than that, but that's just my personal opinion. So what we want to do is we want to let this rest for about 10 minutes because you want the juices to evenly distribute back to the meat. So if you go ahead and cut into it right now while it's still hot, it's just juice is going to run everywhere, your lamb's going to dry out, and you pretty much wasted the meat. So we're going to let this rest for about 10 minutes, and we're going to come back and carve it up and plate it. We'll be right back. Okay, so this is properly rested about 10 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut it up. So what you want to do is flip it around just like this. Bring the bones towards you. Then just take the knife and run through the back. Now if you get any resistance like this, you just need to move over just a little bit, either to the left or the right. You just need to figure out where that rib bone is that's giving you the trouble. So in this case, it is over here to my left. And then you have your first chop. Same thing. Got some more resistance here. Okay. What we want to do is go ahead and plate these up. Just like that. then there you have it. There's your rack of lamb done for you on top of the stove.